sector in the trenches, they stood in the open, applauding the PF sabers, which shot down the hunters in the ensuing dogfight. The most celebrated hero of the 1965 air war was Muhammad Mahmud Alam, or as commonly called M.M. Alam. He was at that time just a squad leader. He claimed having shot down 4 hunters in 30 seconds, which was a record, and the 5th aeroplane in 1 minute. Another 2 aeroplanes are also attributed to him, but not confirmed. And this is right over Sargodha Air Base. And this happened on 7th of September, 1965, and that is why the Air Force Day is celebrated on 7th of September. Although the air war had started much earlier, that is on the 1st of September 1965. The feat of M.M. Alam was not a fluke. And say there were so many airplanes in the air, he just kept shooting them down. No, it was not that. When we joined the squadrons, we heard how M.M. Alam had trained for this event, this eventuality and this point of time. Before the war, before the 65 war, there was a lot of discussion and comparison about the capabilities of the IF British Hawker Hunter and the US F-86F Sabre. A majority of PF pilots considered the Hawker Hunter superior, but not M.M. Alam, who had carried out a very deep technical analysis and believed that the Sabre in every aspect was better than the Hunter, and which was borne out by the kill ratio in the 1965 war. Well, majority of the pilots would be relaxing in their air-conditioned crew rooms. M.M. Alam would be sitting in the Sabre's cockpit, marking out the clock codes on the canopy. Sabres did not have any radars at that time, and pilots were guided towards the enemy by clock code and distance. For example, I am the pilot sitting here and there's an enemy coming from here. The radar controller would say, on your right, 1 o'clock. So I have to look exactly 30 degrees, because on the radar he is measuring 30 degrees and 5 kilometers or 5 miles. If I don't know where is 30 degrees on my cockpit or approximate guess, then I'll be looking around here and there. So M.M. Alam used to sit in the cockpit and he had marked out these degrees so that if the controller says 2 o'clock, he would go exactly at 2 o'clock position. And he spent time doing this during the summer months, and he perfected this technique so that when he was in the air and the controllers were guiding him, he knew exactly where the enemy was. And that is how he could achieve these 5 kills in a short period of 1 minute. The point that I want to make here is that it is hard work. It is hard work that matters. In whichever field you are, whether you are a student, whether you are a teacher, whether you are an administrator, it is the hard work that matters. The harder you work, the better will be the results. Along with M.M. Alam, there were many unsung heroes and who fought with valor and courage, embracing Shahadat to save their homeland from the enemy. One such pilot was Flight Lieutenant Tariq Habib Khan. During a dogfight with Indian Air Force 6 nats, his guns jammed and his one flap got stuck in the down position. Now, those who are familiar with aerodynamics know that if one flap is stuck down, therefore the aircraft is trying to turn that way. So you have to exert all the force to keep the aircraft level. He outwitted those 6 nats and brought home this disabled aeroplane and landed in Sargodha, and he was awarded the Sitara Jurat for this feat of valor. Later on, when I joined the academy, Tariq Habib was my instructor pilot, and he was such a pilot. He could fly so precisely I have never seen a person like that in all my life in the Air Force, that the airspeed indicator and the altimeter would not flicker. Those who do video games, you know how difficult it is to maintain altitude and speed. But his airspeed indicator would freeze at whichever speed he wanted to fly, and the altimeter would freeze whichever altitude he wanted to fly. And it was very difficult for me as a student to match that kind of accuracy, and I would always get some bullshit from him. Later on, as a wing commander, he was the squadron commander of number 5 squadron, and when I returned from Libya, I was his squadron pilot. At the end of the war, according to independent observers, PAF came out better than the Indian Air Force, and the main reasons for this was the technological superiority of the PAF. PAF has always believed not in numbers, but in technological superiority, and that is what is evident today also in the kind of acquisitions that the Pakistan Air Force has undertaken. At that time, PAF possessed the only supersonic and radar-equipped aircraft, the F-104 Starfighter, whose sonic boom would put the fear of God into the enemy pilots. PAF had a fleet of 100 plus F-86 F-Sabres as compared to a variety of aircraft on the Indian side. They had so many aeroplanes, and the more the aeroplanes, variety of aeroplanes, the more difficult it is to maintain them, the more difficult it is for one pilot to shift to the other aeroplane. He needs training on the new aircraft. At that time, the PAF was a member of CETO and CENTO. These were two alliances with the United States and the European countries, and as a result, we would get as much aid as we would fly. So there was no shortage of flying hours, and our pilots had enough flying experience under their belts. And that is why these were the three main. The fourth reason was that we had a very good air defense system. High-powered radars, low-powered radars covering the complete battlefield. And finally, to sum up, what was the legacy of the war? The 1965 war led India to refine its tactics, which were decisive in the 1971 war. Pakistani forces did not realize how much they relied on full ground-based defensive radar cover and an adequate supply of air-to-air missiles. India established a modern early warning radar system with Soviet aid, including the recently introduced